Javier in South Carolina. Javier, you are live on Skeptic Generation.
Hello, hello. Happy to see you back. I hope you're
Hey.
doing well.
Oh, I'm happy to be back. Thank you for calling in. My goodness, I'm happy and surprised to get an actual caller. So let me get your name here. Bam. Javier, what did you want to talk about today?
Alrighty. Well, basically, I wanted to discuss something it's based on, I guess, the current state where I'm at.
Okay.
I called a couple times before the hiatus, and I guess to just sorry, I need to. I'm not that good at articulating, but
no worries. I am going to turn up your audio a little bit because it's a little bit low. But if you are away from your mic, if you could speak just a little bit louder, I'm going to try and bump it up on my end as well. Okay.
All right. Sorry, I'm talking on my phone. But anyway,
I didn't give many options because the tiny.cc link went down. So you're so good. Go for it.
Okay. So, back when I was calling in before the hiatus, I was really into this sort of discussion, talking about skepticism, religion, and broader, I guess, societal trends and morality and that kind of thing. But ever since then, and I've been kind of just sort of stepping away from it, not because I don't care. I still find this sort of discussion to be entertaining, fulfilling, important, etc. But I just kind of wanted, well, I guess to put it bluntly, just wanted to chill out a little about it and just deal with, deal with life as it came. And that made me think. I'm not here to get on a soapbox and start saying, oh, everyone should back off and chill out or anything like that. But I'm curious, since I imagine you have much more experience in the realm of these topics than I do, what the broader, I guess, implications, in your opinion, would be if people in general started sort of chilling out and backing off?
Well, Javier, first to start out, it says in the notes that you are agnostic, but you still consider yourself a believer. Is that the case?
Yeah, I guess maybe you could call that progress of a sort. It's not that necessarily my goal. It's not like my goal is necessarily to come out of religion or anything like that. I genuinely want to believe. I want to be as secure as I can in terms of what I believe or do not believe.
That right there is progress. I love that. Okay, so can I just give you a couple of affirmations right just before we continue? So Javier, sure. The first thing is I don't consider leaving your faith progress, simply because I've met a lot of people who left their faith for really bad reasons. Maybe they moved into some other worse, cult or something, or because they just may have had really unsound reasoning for why they have deconverted. And so the fact that you want to have good reasons for what you believe is, in my opinion, progress. I love that. Cool. That said, when you say that, what are the implications of everyone backing off? Do you mean people leaving each other alone as far as what they believe? Or do you mean people like me having conversations with believers, or you having questions and asking either way? Give me a little bit more info.
Okay, so what I mean generally by that is, I guess sort of losing interest isn't the right word, but those ideas and those discussions becoming much more secondary, tertiary, etc., in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
So it would.
So
I'm sorry.
No. I didn't want to cut you off, but I think that you are at a place that I saw a lot, especially when I was over at the ACA. There are people who had been in this kind of non-believer space for a really long time, and they're just like, it's solved. It's over. People aren't having this conversation anymore. It doesn't matter. And the fact is, you're not having this conversation as much, but there are people who are in this process of deconversion or deconstruction of their religion. And it is a very, very lonely experience. And today is the first day for a lot of people. And that's why shows like this even though for me it's old hat when it comes to, the philosophical arguments. And for me, it's done to the point that I can have them in a really, really intelligible way. For others, it really is their first time. And it's not uncommon for these shows to have someone in the comments under every episode going, "This was my first episode. Thank you." So what are the implications of you moving on? Can I respond to that, or does that kind of take away from the question you were asking?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. The implications of you moving on is you've got other stuff you want to think about. So for me, when I realized I didn't believe, it was a big moment for me. I thought that I needed to know, and I was having these really in-depth discussions with religious, leaders in my community. I was talking to a rabbi who was the rabbi of a fraternity house of my friend, but he was a good rabbi. He was there to kind of be there for them. I was talking to a Christian pastor. I was talking to a Taoist. I spoke to a number of people who were kind of into really woo-y stuff. And it was one day when I was talking to this rabbi, and I was just so fervent and like, it's not just about faith. Like, what is grounding your faith? And he looked at me and he goes, "Eric, if you don't believe, then just don't believe." And I was like, that's an option? I hadn't even considered it. And right after that watershed moment, I just stopped thinking about it for years. Putting it down, I call it apatheism, when you just don't care. If it becomes so much that, or so tiring or so boring, there are lots of things to do. And you not being involved in the conversation doesn't have a bad ethical implication for you. It doesn't, because there are people joining the conversation all the time. I think that there's a benefit to establishing yourself as someone who can create community and creating a place for people to not feel alone. But you don't carry the burden of that. We all do. And so putting that responsibility on yourself isn't fair to you or to anybody else. If it's time to step away for a bit, step away for a bit. Become the best version of you. That's really what's most important anyway,
Yeah, I see what you mean. I understand what you mean. It's certainly is well, yeah. I guess I don't really know what to add there. I think you covered it in a way I agree with. One of the things, I guess, in my opinion at least, one of the things that helped me sort of just step away from it, even though I don't know how, I guess, epistemologically sound this is, it's basically the knowledge that it's something that I'm sure many current and former religious people have said and heard before, but it's that, well, I guess I'll find out someday,
So that's the only point that I absolutely disagree. Because I think for me, when I die, I stop finding out everything.
Good point.
Yeah, like this is the only chance I'm going to get to learn as much about the world as I can. But because it is my one shot, I do have the opportunity to choose what I'm going to do. You have the choice. You have the choice to be as involved as you want to be because it brings you joy and satisfaction, because epistemically it helps ground you. And it sounds like you've been on this journey for long enough that you are probably better positioned than most. And that's incredible. It's okay to put it down. Maybe if you put it down now, you'll have the compassion or energy to come back at some point if it brings you joy again. But don't burn out,
I see. Yeah, I certainly, I do understand. I'm not quite fond of burnout. I see having to.
Javier, I took a year off, right? Like, I stepped away for a year. Did you know that this show was getting, I was checking the download numbers on our podcast. And for each episode that I'm looking at, each of them are over 20,000 downloads. Like, we went up by over 1,000 subscribers. We hit 18,000 subscribers in the middle of last month when we weren't putting on any shows. This show is making a lot of progress. It was growing pretty dang fast. And you have to decide, is it worth the burnout? So you're talking to somebody who stepped away and has come back refreshed. And maybe in a year, maybe less, maybe more, you'll be refreshed too. But you kind of owe it to yourself.
Yeah, I see what you mean. To be honest, in that time, I'm not saying that I purposefully lined it up with your hiatus, but that period of time, kind of halfway through, or rather a couple of months ago, is when I decided, I'm stepping back, just gonna chill out for a bit.
Yeah.
And then yesterday, I'm scrolling through YouTube and I see on my recommended feed, hey, that looks like a Skeptic Generation is gonna have a live stream tomorrow. This would be the perfect time for me to hop back and pray.
Nice. I love that. Yeah. Well, I wish you the best. And I hope that, as you have questions or as you work your way along it, feel free to call in. I sincerely appreciate you calling today because I was not expecting callers. I was very, very afraid that this was going to be a short episode because I was going to run out of things to say. And this was actually a meaningful conversation. So I sincerely appreciate it. Thank you, Javier.
Thank you for having me. It's been great. I hope to be calling back. As maybe as much as I can would be the wrong phrase, but as soon as I got a question, I think we'll have a good conversation. Just call in and hash it out.
I love that. Sounds good. I look forward to it. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.